And when it comes to nutrients for cold and flu season, really this has got to be a list of some of my favorites. And we've used these aggressively for the past several years, but you can see vitamin C is number one on the list. I think if you're choosing only one thing, you choose vitamin C and you choose heavy doses. For the adult, it's generally like 5 grams. But vitamin C, nobody's ever overdosed on vitamin C. What happens when your dose gets too high is you generally will just have diarrhea. And so then, it comes right out of you. But to prevent that, when you start getting into higher grams, ideally to take vitamin C, you take 1 gram doses spaced out over the day. Because you get better absorption that way. If you take heavy doses all at the same time, 3 grams, 4 grams at a time, your absorption of vitamin C is going to be somewhere around 30 or 40%. Whereas if you take that 1 gram at a time, your absorption is going to be more closer to somewhere around the 70%. So you get a lot better absorption with vitamin C when you take it in 1 gram or less dosing. Now, my second favorite is N-acetylcysteine. And N-acetylcysteine has so many wonderful functions, but one of the great things about it that I like about N-acetylcysteine is with colds and flus, a lot of times it goes to your lungs, and you be hacking mucus and having trouble breathing and being short of breath as a result of that. And so one of the things that N-acetylcysteine does really well is it helps cleanse. It supports cleansing of the lungs. And so I had my father-in-law was post-COVID, and he was struggling a lot with his lungs. And generally, when he gets a cold and in his lungs and it gets into his lungs, he's coughing for 2 or 3 months to try to get rid of that. Well, not with this stuff. If you add this stuff, and what I like to do is about 2,000 milligrams per day, this will help your lungs make the comeback they need to make. And so if you're still struggling, if you've been recently sick and your lungs are full and mucousy, then consider supporting that with N-acetylcysteine, one of my favorites. Quercetin. This is a big one for several reasons. It's a bioflavonoid that has a lot of immune-enhancing properties, but one of the really nice functions of quercetin is it opens up your cells. It's an ionophore, so it opens up the cell and allows for zinc to be better absorbed. And so zinc is super effective. It's one of the most powerful antivirals known to man. And so this has got to be on your list. And so what some people do, and what I like to see people do if they have a sore throat and they're just trying to support that, is to use like a zinc lozenge. Because a zinc lozenge, not only is that zinc can help support and reduce viral load in the throat, but the lozenge itself, depending on what's in it, but if you get a good lozenge with like marshmallow or something like that, can be very effective at soothing and coating the throat. And so it's a kind of a twofer in that way. Now, as far as zinc is concerned, depending on your age and weight, anywhere from 50 to 150 milligrams a day, and that's not indefinite, but that's just during the time of illness. And as far as quercetin is concerned, we're looking at 1 to 2 grams per day, again during the course of the illness. We've got silver on here twice, so we'll just come up over here. So silver is another good one. I mentioned silver earlier as a tool that can be used especially to gargle with. Silver is very effective. And definitely can support your immune function, and it's so easy because it doesn't really have any taste, and you can gargle with it and get that benefit in your throat as well. And then what also needs to be on your list, I'd say if you're putting together your cold and flu, if you're getting ready for cold and flu season, you're trying to put together your list, is vitamin D. Vitamin D, one of the most powerful immune regulating agents known to man. It's actually, some researchers were speculating during the pandemic that if we would have just corrected vitamin D deficiency, the vast majority of people who died, I think it was like 90%, would not have, just as a result of this one tiny nutrient. And so a lot of people their vitamin D is way too low just going into cold and flu seasons. Remember what happens. When is cold and flu season? It's at the tail end. It's on the tail end of summer, really coming into fall, and the day is changing, right? So we have less availability to that sunlight, which is the primary way that we make vitamin D. It's through the UV hitting our skin and converting cholesterol in our skin into vitamin D. And so as you lose the ability to get that sunshine, your vitamin D will start to drop during those fall months, and that drop, it coincides with flu season. And it doesn't matter whether you're in the northern or southern hemisphere, it coincides with the flu season where you're at, because we have opposite seasons. And so vitamin D, making sure you have adequate quantities. This is a really simple thing to measure too. You can ask your doctor. I would encourage any of you going into cold and flu season to ask your doctor to measure your 25-OHD. And where you're shooting for is you want to be 50 plus. You know, sometimes the range on most lab tests is 20 to 100. And a lot of times the doctor will say, oh, you're 20, you're fine, you're normal. No, you're way too low. If you're going into winter with a 20, you want to be 50 plus. And I would check this in the beginning of the fall, kind of moving into cold and flu season. Then I would probably encourage you to check it again sometime January, just to make sure it's staying up in that 50 plus range. And you keep it there through the winter months, and you'll do really well. Your immune system will thank you for it. As far as getting it there, you know, I get this all the time too. I'll have somebody comes in, their GP gave them 2,000 international units a day. They said, oh, you could just take 2,000 units a day of vitamin D, and you know, their levels have never budged. That you won't budge if you're sitting at a 20 and you're taking 2,000. Next time you get tested, you're still going to be at 20. In order to move the needle on your lab and really get your levels up, you've got to be 10,000 units a day. You know, and you can do that. It's very safe to do that. It's not a toxic dose. Nobody's ever died from vitamin D toxicity. So you can do that. It's very simple to do. And it's not dangerous. And you know, check your vitamin D periodically, though. Check it, you know, if you do this for a month, get your levels checked to make sure it's coming up, right? Don't just do this indefinitely without guidance, but it's something that should be relatively easy for you to do and follow. Now, there are also other things that can be done for, you know, for relief and for support in this time. One of my favorite formulas, actually, I designed it. It's called Virid, and what it has in it is it has zinc as one of the ingredients. It has vitamin C as one of the ingredients. It has cysteine as one of the ingredients, but it also has andrographis, and it has elderberry, and it has lysine, all known for their antiviral properties. And so very, very effective specialty blend formulation if you're trying to say, okay, this is a lot of supplements, this is a lot of pills, what am I trying to prioritize here? Now, those of you who'd like access to it, I'll put down below this a link to my immune protocol, which lists out what to take, how much of it to take for both adults and children, and we'll make that available to you guys if you'd like to access it. So we'll put that below this video. Now, aside from a cold and flu aspect, we've also got allergy time, right? We're moving into allergy season here. And so there's also things that you want to do and that you can do for natural allergy season support. And so one of the things that I recommend, it's simple to install or simple to purchase, is a HEPA air filter. HEPA air filters, you know, can reduce the allergen load in your home. And so let's say you've got ragweed or oak pollen or whatever it might be as an allergen, and you go outside and your whole head is running and you're miserable, sneezing and coughing and everything else. Well, go inside, right, during allergy season, that's one aspect, and filter the air in your home, especially depending on how your AC and HVAC unit was set up. There are some HVAC units that pull outdoor air into the home and don't properly filter that air, which is a mistake in and of itself. But if you've got air filtration in place, you can reduce the allergy load, which is very, very helpful for those of you that do suffer with seasonal allergies. Now, also avoiding external toxins. One of the most effective ways I have seen to combat seasonal allergies. I've had no less than 1,000 patients that have told me after we took care of their nutrition, they no longer had seasonal allergies. And it's my opinion that seasonal allergies not all of them, but a good majority of them are really a person is eating poorly, they're eating the wrong diet, they're eating poor nutrition, and their food is actually such a burden on the immune system that when fall comes or spring comes and the pollen counts are higher, the allergy counts are higher, their immune systems are so overwhelmed by their food, they don't have the capacity to deal with the external environmental allergens. And so cleaning up your diet, avoiding external toxins, and cleaning up your diet. So this is food dyes, food preservatives, food, processed food ingredients, pesticides, those types of things will go a long way to improving how your immune system can actually function. And diet change, I'm partial to no grain, no pain, which is, if you're not familiar with my book, No Grain, No Pain, we can put a link to that under the show too. But Phase 1 and Phase 2 diet change, it's 30 days. Do that do that coming into allergy season. I've had, like I said, no less than 1,000 people tell me I didn't need to take my allergy medicine this year. I didn't have to have my steroid inhaler. I didn't need Benadryl in my back pocket to deal, with October and November this year. So doing these things can be very, very simple and very, very easy. Now you can apply too for allergy season. You can also remember one of the things that happens is you get accumulation of allergens in your nasal cavity, and so that neti pot that we talked about for cold and flu can also be very, very effective for allergies as well as showering. And if you go outside and you come back inside, remember you're carrying all those allergens on your clothing and in your hair, and so taking those clothes, washing them, and getting in the shower can be an effective tool for reducing the allergy burden in your home as well. And if you have pets, big dogs, that's the other thing you've got to pay attention to, because if they're outside and they're pulling in all that pollen that you're reactive to, then the indoor quality air of your home could be compromised. So this is where we recommend the air filtration. So there you have it, hacks and tips that you can apply at home before maybe going into the doctor to help your body, support your body through cold and flu, but also to support your body through allergies.